Good morning and welcome to the fourth hour. Always nice to have you along. Hope you had a great weekend. I did. My weekend was fabulous. And then I showed up at work this morning and everything starts going. I've got to be very, very honest with you. I debated as to whether or not I was going to do the fourth hour today, just because I've had no time to prepare. We had issues in the studio today with we have a computer system called White Orbit. And White Orbit runs the radio station from event to event. And so we were having some issues with it this morning. We just stopped getting Fox News at one point earlier this morning during the Fox News rundown. Suddenly silence, just silence. It had been working. Everything was fine. Sudden silence. So what happened? I have no idea. So then that impacts me and my job running up to the studio, see what's going on. So I start a break and come back and more silence. And then it's like clear. I've got to get up to the studio. I'm going to have to run the board, during that. This is in the hour before I go on the air. And fortunately, I'd been able to download a good amount of material, but I haven't gone through it yet. And Fox News did not work on our board. Again, Fox News has tones, and at certain points it will fire, and it just wasn't doing that. And it wasn't there. There was no audio. I could hear it on the board. So we have, does that make sense? You have that audio is routing into White Orbit, and then through White Orbit, we route it to our transmitter. And then we've got audio, again, Fox News audio, that's routing outside of White Orbit. So it's like two different pathways. So I could hear that the Fox News rundown was there and going, but it's not on the air. And generally, there's nothing that I can do. I don't have the skills required to be able to correct that. And maybe a reboot of the computer, but also then you're in the midst of preparing the radio show. So you got all of that going on. So I'm going through the stuff. I haven't looked at any of the stuff that I printed out yet. I've got all of that, and I'm watching the clock, and the clock is ticking down. And that's the kind of morning it was for me this morning. And then once I'm on the air, now it's Fox News Radio. We hit Reddit. We go to Fox right when we should, and silence. So I'm having to bring up Fox News on the board live, and at one point, and then remember to pull it down, and wasn't able to do that a couple of times this morning. So it just was an incredibly overwhelming morning. So I apologize for all of that. Some days are like that, but it's yeah. Denise is right. Yeah, some days you pretty much have to, and that's one of these. Today is one of those days for me. And then I've got other issues that are also that I'm dealing with station-wide. There are the show of the things that I do at KELO Radio. Very, very honestly, candidly, the show is the easiest. I mean, it can be the most difficult at times, but that's the part I love. Being on the air with you and talking about the news, taking phone calls, sharing with you, that wake up call for you each morning. I love that part of my day. And it makes the other kind of things a lot more, easier to deal with, because I love that part of my job very, very much. There's a reason I get up at 2:45 each morning, beyond a paycheck is certainly that's enough of a motivator, but also I love what I do. I look forward to it. So do I look forward to getting up? No, like anybody, but once I'm up and going, hey, okay, let's go. It's a new day. Boom. New week. And often we're off and running. But today was just like one of those days where you feel like every time you kicked around, you just get kicked in the head. It's just that kind of day. So I yeah. Now again, um, Steve's saying about double ads this morning. There was a point at one place where that occurred, and what happened there was the I hit a wrong button. Um, and when you're frustrated, here's the thing: you really have to be at the top of your game when you're running that machine, when you're running Wide Orbit every morning. And most days, I feel like I am. Most days, I feel like I'm on top of it. Okay. Um, but days like today, where the equipment's not, functioning and cooperating, and I'm having to do things manually, where normally those are done automatically, and those things aren't happening. That is like somebody, you prepared this nice, wonderful meal, right? You prepared, you went to all the trouble, you got this nice, wonderful meal, and somebody walks up to you 5 minutes ahead of time and kicks the tray that you're carrying with all of this stuff. You're ready to present it to everybody, and somebody just kicked it and sent it all over. Yeah, that's the day I had. So I'm begging your patience. I'm not trying to complain because I love my job. I the and then I got off the air. Then there are some other issues that we're dealing with that have nothing to do with computer problems. So we're dealing with these other issues, and I really debated. I just not going to do it today, and thought better of it because I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you. That's what I really appreciate. So I'm going to be checking some of the websites here this morning and seeing if there is anything new that I've seen. New peace deal on the table for Zelensky. This is what Fox News is reporting. Let's take a look at this story this morning. Again, these would be stories I've not yet seen. UK's prime minister laying out a Ukraine peace deal. I'm not sure that any of this actually is new. Zelensky has been on damage control since the disastrous meeting with President Trump at the White House on Friday. Zelensky has emphasized he's still willing to sign a rare earth minerals deal. Why didn't he sign it on Friday? This is crazy. Secretary of State Rubio, the security guarantees. He said, I like to call deterrence is all contingent upon there being a peace. Everybody's saying security guarantees to secure the peace. You first have to have a peace. He's absolutely. That's another. I am just going to get kicked in the head all day today. Some days are like that. Let's see what else is going on. A lot of it is the Oscars yesterday, and that was the big stories at the New York Post this morning. Yeah. Still Oscars. I don't know that there's anything else at the New York Post that I mentioned to you a column by Miranda Devine, and look for it at the New York Post. She says Zelensky was the true instigator of the Oval Office fracas, not an ambush from Trump. Totally agree with that. Yeah, a lot of this is just about the Oscars. Let's go over and I want to check Semaphore and see what they have got going on. Here's the world at a glance. The Kremlin says U.S. foreign policy now largely aligns with Moscow's vision. U.S. tariffs on Canada and Mexico set take effect tomorrow. Yeah, don't forget about those. Record number of UK citizens applied for Irish passports. A lot of this is Europe. There's a focus here on semaphore over the focus largely is coming from the UK. I'm trying to see if there's anything domestic. I'm not seeing anything domestic beyond the tiff between Trump and Zelensky at the White House on Friday. Newsmax says the president is considering stopping military aid to Ukraine. He plans to discuss this today, according to the New York Times. Washington Post reports Trump administration was considering ending all ongoing shipments of military aid to Ukraine. At stake, roughly $5.5 billion of radars, vehicles, ammunition, and missiles. So Zelensky left for London. A lot of this we already know and it's shared. Yesterday, Zelensky told the BBC is certainly willing to sign the mineral deal and have constructive dialogue with the U.S. Your chance was on Friday, man. Your chance was on Friday. That's why you were there. I just want the Ukrainian position to be heard. So on it goes, it seems, from Zelensky. All right, excuse me. So I don't know that there's anything beyond that, really. That story is really is the story this morning, and it has been since Friday. What was your take during as you watched what was going on with Zelensky in the White House? You know, I was just, first of all, mystified that somebody would come into America's house and behave that way and be that disrespectful. And then you had a member of the media, and I don't know if you happened to catch this. There was a member of the media who said, "Why don't you wear a suit? You come to the White House. Why aren't you wearing a suit?" And Zelensky's smart-ass response then was to this reporter that, about what they were wearing and, maybe I'll get a suit and nicer than yours. And I thought, what is with this guy with a chip on his shoulder? It's just absolutely incredible as you watch this. And so he responds that way, not only with the president, he's responding that way with everybody, with the media. And it just really blows me away. What's Andy saying here? What do you think? Trump is attacking allies and saying Russian talking points, such as Ukraine starting the war, Zelensky being a dictator. Trump did say recently. Most people know that Trump would have you. Are you saying give Ukraine to Russia? What are your responses to that comment? What Andy's saying here? I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Edgy is saying, "Yeah, Andy, that's what is happening. He's certainly not standing up for Americans that are sick of funding an arrogant, entitled beggar like Zelensky." Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Trump attacking allies. To which I would say, Andy, you got it absolutely, backwards. It's the opposite. It's allies attacking Trump. It's allies attacking Trump. And now suddenly we've got Europe who is interested in stopping this war over in Ukraine. And where have they been? Where have they been up until now? It took Donald Trump to kick everybody in the seat of the pants and get them moving. It's so I don't know. I think you've got everything absolutely backwards. That it is the rest of the country that is, or excuse me, it's the rest of the world that has been willing for the mess to just go on and on and on, and to have America pay for a large portion of it, the lion's share of it being paid for by America versus Europe. Then this, I understand what the president's where he's coming from, that Europeans pay more for their own defense rather than the United States having to pay all of that. So forgive me, Andy, I think you got it absolutely backwards. Jeannie is saying here, Zelensky was childish. His demands were over the top. No more standing before Congress and telling them what they're going to be doing. Jeannie, thank you very much. Steve also saying Andy lives in fantasy land, so it's a fun place. David, Ukraine aggravated Russia by wanting to join NATO and attacking people in eastern Ukraine. I didn't get a lot of calls this morning about the yeah, you're going to have to prove this, Andy. Where does that come from? Where are you pulling that from? The EU has given more money. Where you can Google it. Oh, so that's your answer. You're going to trust that to Google, are you? Edgy saying that per country. That's such a bad faith argument. Can states opt out of paying for a war they don't want to fund? Not a single EU country can match the U.S. contribution. Yeah. The contribution of the United States has been much greater. And especially under Joe Biden. Take a look at the money that the United States was sending to Ukraine. So, Andy, you're putting forward that that Europe is spending more than that? I don't think so. You're going to have to provide proof rather than you just saying you can Google it. That's really not much of a response. All right, that really is the big story, I think, this morning, and I'm gonna leave it there. You made it to the end of the video, so you're part of my gallery of champions. If you would hit that like button before you leave, I would greatly appreciate it, especially today, as I'm feeling like I just have been kicked around big time by events today at work. So thanks again for your patience. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you again tomorrow. Please come back. I will see you then. Take care. Hope your Monday goes a lot better than mine. So long until tomorrow.